Welcome to Phantasy Star Online 2 in North America. What is PSO2? Phantasy Star is the grandfather of the MMO genre. Making its online debut in the Dreamcast era, it innovated many facets of MMORPGs that are considered standard today. PSO2 originally released in 2012 in Japan only, but recently made its way to NA via Microsoft. It releases on PC on May 27th. In my opinion, it exceeds the quality of modern games easily. How long is 8 years anyway? I prefer the optimistic point of view. Since PSO2 originally released in 2012, the game has had 8 years to flesh out content and improve the user experience. Some of my friends have passed the 10,000 hour mark in terms of playtime. I can very confidently say the game respects player time investment, otherwise I can't imagine that the player base would remain this loyal. And it wouldn't be Sega's top earning title. I'd attribute that player retention to consistent content additions, system updates, and collaborations. Collaborations? Well, in Japan, there's been a collab with Miku, Attack on Titan, Monster Hunter, Final Fantasy, Persona 5, Konosuba, Evangelion, Guilty Gear, Nier Automata, and many more. In North America so far, we've only had a Miku collab, but tinfoil hat on, seeing that the timing of a Miku collab during the week of a Project Diva launch is all too convenient. Coincidence? I think not. This really opens up the floodgates.
Surprise, motherfucker!
For a Halo collab. Imagine having the battle rifle in game. The satisfaction of out-BRing a celestial god would be unmatched. Having a Cortana mag would be incredible. Whoa, Cammy, don't get too far ahead of yourself. You haven't even explained what PSO2 gameplay is yet. Sorry, I get like that when I talk about Halo. Where was I? Oh right, gameplay. What do you do in PSO2? This ain't your typical Holy Trinity MMO. There's no tank or healer. We're all DPS, baby. You want a tank? Then do more DPS so the boss aggroes you. You want to heal? Then do more DPS so the boss dies before it attacks. You ever heard the expression, the best defense is a good offense? They were talking about PSO2. Jokes aside, the combat's stylish, with a very evident skill ceiling resulting from keeping damage as high as possible while dodging, guarding, managing cooldowns and resources, handling boss mechanics, and dodging. Like Patches O'Houlihan said, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a space turtle hell-bent on cosplaying as a Beyblade.
Oh, you almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that.
In the gameplay you've seen of my character so far, you probably think this game's about small waifus and big raifus. And while it is true for me, there are 9 playable classes, with more coming later from Japan. Starting off with Hunter, who wields a big-ass sword and is the sturdiest of the bunch. Its abilities revolve around great survivability and passives that can forgive mistakes. Once you learn the game though, you can take advantage of its guard to improve your damage with various buffs innate to it. While simple, most of its ceiling stems from its timing of very long animations to deal massive amounts of damage. This is by far the most recommended beginner class and universal subclass. The fighter solves its problems headfirst with its fist. This is the quintessential up-close and personal class. While lacking range, it makes up for it by dealing massive damage and filling your screen up with big numbers. What the fighter lacks for survivability, it makes up for with its high damage potential. Fighter is basically the glass cannon that deals a lot of damage when played well, and when played poorly, they're usually the first ones on the floor begging for revives. Now on to Ranger. As expected, this class works best from a distance, utilizing the launcher for crowds and the rifle for big damage. The lure of this class is using special bullets with a myriad of effects including blinding, binding, armor sunder, confusion, and weakening. The class also has access to traps, which are very useful for keeping your special attack meter filled. Gunner is all about style and flashy close quarters aerial gunplay. If you like that Gunjitsu, Matrix, Devil May Cry type of combat, then Gunner is for you. Using the twin machine gun and rifle, the Gunner proves to be one of the highest DPS classes with unique abilities like Chain Trigger, which targets an enemy with a debuff where hitting it up to 100 times allows for an extremely powerful finisher. Force is PSO's classic magician, or warlock. In this game, magic is referred to as techniques. Force uses various techniques involving wind, fire, lightning, darkness, light, and Ice. Casting these with Rod and Talus, which is pretty much just throwing cards at your enemy, and then you can cast spells where the card lands. Typically in games, magic classes are not very beginner friendly, and PSO is no exception. But don't let that stop you from giving it a try. Force can be one of the most satisfying classes to master. Tector is like Force, but with more of a focus on support styles of magic with melee combat mixed in. Tector uses Talus and Wand. One of Tector's main strengths is passively keeping meter filled and ready to use a host of support spells that boost damage and defenses of teammates. Even being labeled a support class doesn't mean it can't also dish out some of the biggest DPS in the game. Braver embraces your inner weeb. Capable of both long and close combat, the Braver uses a bow and katana. This is a strong contender for a beginner class because it promotes a holistic understanding of the game with its ability and weapon options. As usual, this class can hang in regards to DPS and also sports some great mobility options. Speaking of mobility, the Bouncer is a hypermobile, magically influenced class who wields jet boots and soaring blades. Bouncer can really do it all. It brings both utility and damage to the table without sacrificing high mobility. Its combat loop involves cycling weapons and spells while moving in and out of danger to maximize its damage. The final class offered is Summoner, but to keep the video under 10 minutes, I'm just gonna move on. Okay, fine. Summoner is basically a Pokemon trainer. It's different enough from other classes to have its own additional learning curve. As a result, I hear it's not very beginner friendly, but if you really enjoy raising pets, along with the strategy that comes with employing them in combat, it will be worth the growing pains. Each pet has a variety of unique skills and benefits that you can employ. There are a total of 8 pets overall, with 4 additional evolution pets. I went ahead and took the liberty of translating these pet names for you. We have Good Value Jolteon, Blue Hawk, Edgy Lucario, Fairy Squirrel, Beats by Dre on a Sentret, my not very big pony, Baby Dragon, and Peeps. So the combat's cool and all, raids are aight, but the real end game is fashion. Did you know that 72% of players spend most of their in-game time in the character creator? I just made that up, but it's probably true. In all seriousness, PSO2 fashion goes hard. Every 2 weeks, Japan drops a fashion catalog. You'll unintentionally become a combat god because you'll want to buy outfits, but you don't got any money. So, you'll have no choice but to dunk on a dragon because you really want some money to buy that scarf. It's worth mentioning in-game currency is called meseta because me set a limit on how much I spend on fashion, but ultimately end up spending it all anyway. The fashion addiction will spiral into you checking the Fresh Find shop every day at 4 AM like clockwork to see what new accessories are available. Oh boy, 3 AM! There's even a leaderboard for fashion. It's called the Lookbook. The biggest flex in PSO2 is maintaining a top spot in the Lookbook. There's also an invisible metric that tracks your reputation as a lobby warrior. You'll know you progressed in this stat when you show up to block 1 or 2 and people know you by name. Other players will notice your character now has an aura from so much drip.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
Some outfits and accessories can be purchased with in-game and real-life currency respectively. Yep, that's right, this game is free to play. Let me make this portion of the video abundantly clear. A lot of bad apples in the industry tarnish a healthy free-to-play model. In PSO2, you can thrive in the endgame without paying a cent. The majority of real-life spending goes into fashion and impatient convenience. What I mean by that, some examples include immediate refill of harvesting stamina, skill tree resets even though these are given out for free regularly, inventory expansions even though you can vault items from virtually anywhere, scape dolls which revive your character even though other people res you for free, and experience boosters, even though, once again, you'll earn more of these than you'll use in the game. A paid premium subscription is offered, which does the following: item trading with other players, a personal room to decorate, selling items in the player shop, but realize that you can earn personal shop tickets in the game frequently without paying. You also get additional item storage, a 50% XP boost effect, access to 3 more cameras, a bigger hold capacity for client orders, and a slew of other perks. On the 2nd of every month, PSO2 Day occurs. On that day you get bonus XP and a rare variant of an enemy spawns. Premium users get a bonus PSO2 day on the 22nd as well. The biggest takeaway from this section is that the game remains profitable while being in another dimension away from pay to win. Me personally, I consider microtransactions to be a tip jar for a game well made. Here's what a typical day in PSO2 looks like for me. Your day can be as lax or as busy as you want to make it. Minimally, you'd play an hour on the weekend to complete daily orders ahead of time to save for the rest of the week. Then every day you'd spend 3 to 5 minutes doing your daily missions, since these are the best bang for your buck in terms of time versus experience gained. Ideally, every day I play, I chip away at weekly missions since these are great for earning Meseta. North America also has a battle pass which you can earn progress for by completing weekly tier missions. Me personally, the first thing I do when logging on is to harvest. You can fish and mine for resources that are useful for high level consumables. Since your harvesting stamina is on a few hours cooldown, you can harvest multiple times a day if you start early. My favorite place to harvest is
emergency notification for all ARC's ops. Numerous small spawn are congregating near the mining bases on Lilipha. Prepare for a defensive operation.
Oh yeah, randomly throughout the day you may experience an urgent quest. The ship lobby will flash red warning symbols all around to let you know. Urgent quests are 12-player large-scale operations. Some have a similar feeling to a raid. In terms of experience and loot, these are almost always worth the attempt. If I have an abundance of time to play on a particular day, I'll party up with my Alliance members and run some quests. An Alliance is PSO2's clan or guild system. This brings me to the most asked question in any North American guide. Can you be a solo player? The answer is sometimes. As in any MMO, your experience will almost always be better with teammates. I get that some players want to be like Kirito, and there is some aspirational solo content for sure, but at the end of the day, people don't want to play with Kirito, they want to team with Kuroko. It never hurts to team up too, because all experience and drops are individually generated. In fact, you receive more XP for teaming. And if you don't have anybody to team with, you can also party up with NPCs in quests. How long does it take to max a character and reach endgame? On my first character, I went for a hybrid support build. I mained Ranger and chose Tector as a subclass. The build's goal was to weaken my enemy and buff my teammates. While this main class subclass combination is not the most competitive for damage, I had a lot of fun maxing it out and acquiring the best in slot gear. It took me around 150 hours to see my build through to completion. This character went from getting farmed in urgent quests to confidently tackling the hardest content in the game so far. As for my second character, I went with the opposite combination of my first. Unfortunately, the combo of Tector main class with a Ranger subclass ended up completely foregoing any dreams of big damage. As a result, I'm currently seeing through a side path to make my character as tanky as possible. Not gonna lie though, that frying pan still cracks me up every time I hear the... It took me far less time to max this character than my first, clocking in at 110 hours. I project my third character will finish in less than 90 hours now that I know the ropes. What about side diversions? Well, there's a casino, concerts, there's PvP in Japan. I'm sure it'll come to North America soon enough, but for now it's in Japan. You can acquire titles, there's a story mode, you can take screenshots, you can decorate your personal quarters, or you could play mini games in your personal quarters.
Nice!
My favorite side diversion is training my auxiliary. An auxiliary is a custom-made companion that you can send on quest. I prefer to make mini-me fight bosses to grow even stronger. Down. He wants this kill. He's looking for the connection, and there it is! He got him! That pretty much covers the main overview, so I'll end by giving you some tips I wish somebody told me before I invested 300 hours. You can resize the preview windows. Chat shortcuts are incredible, learn them early. You can filter client orders and take those related to your current mission. Pure mags are the way to go. By the way, mags are your floating shoulder companion that if you feed them certain items, they grow certain stats that you benefit from. Rock bear training is a good way to test weapons. always carry an XP/rare drop booster in case you encounter a rare enemy variant. Sagami! Let's go! Rare drop! The story quest is a great source of star gems. To highlight items in the menu, click while holding shift or control for selecting multiple items. Turn on auto pickup in the options. You can change your account name to a custom name in the login screen options. The final tip is the most obvious one of all, which is why it gets overlooked so often, which is the game will try to push you towards the tutorial counter, and you'll do everything in your power not to read the tutorial, but I promise you, if you just take an extra couple minutes to carefully read through the tutorial, it explains everything. But for the things that it doesn't explain, there's of course YouTube, so go ahead, don't be afraid, search for anything, search for PSO2 mag feeding guide. You'll find a good video. To those of you who made it to the end of this overview, I'm happy to report that you can now pre-download PSO2 on PC. As far as my future content on this channel goes, I'll continue posting my usual Destiny content. However, with Phantasy Star Online 2 now on PC, I'm picking this up as my main PvE game. So there's a lot of shit posting to be had. I'll see you there. The last thing I want to mention before I stop talking is of course shoutouts, because this video was quite the undertaking. So, in no specific order, I'll start with the content creator Azalera and the Skylark Alliance on Japan Ship 2. Thank you. Then on North America Ship 1, we have Zenith Arcs Alliance. They were very, very helpful in a lot of urgent quests. I have Game Sager, Sides, Elite 4K, Zworth, Perp, Edgewalker, Maddie Plays SRL, Zincosma. All of them were very helpful on leveling my characters and doing quests together. It cannot be understated how much I appreciate the Play PSO2 community team, with how frequent their news updates have been and how welcoming they've made me feel in the community. Thank you. We of course have the Encore Alliance on Ship 1. That's the home clan. We're eventually going to merge with Tier 1 in the first week of PC. The channel host from GM Custom, Animana, and Mark all throughout the month was very appreciated. And then finally, thank you to the Destiny community for hosting my channel all month long, even though I'm in a different directory. Thank you so much. All right, let's do this.